Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rutherford County Board of Education. Appreciate our visitors and staff being with us tonight. Our regular session, reminding you before we even start with anything, is that we have reviewed a number of these items already, and we may have further discussion, we may not, just so that you know that we are voting with considerable due diligence from Tuesday night. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, led tonight by Board Member Jim Estes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would invite the audience and staff to join the board in a moment of silence, please, and remembering the following: the family of Debbie Castile, whose father passed away last week. Debbie works in our central office accounting department. Also the family of Cecilia Vasquez, an 8th grader at Oakland Middle School, who passed away Monday from illness. And as educators, parents, grandparents, caring people of this great country, our hearts and prayers are with everyone in Parkland, Florida. It's unconscionable to think that anyone in our schools with the purpose of bringing harm to our children. If you would join the board and staff in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Board, if you look at number 4, and if you would educate me just a little bit here now. We had something revised here with the approval of the agenda. Did we, exactly what did we move there from tab 1? Or am I wrong?
Yep, we broke apart the policies. That was the request.
Okay.
Just towards the end.
That's in a
and then
consent agenda.
Not approve on 2 readings.
Okay. So, okay, number 4, we're all right. Approval of agenda then. I need a motion. Okay, I need approval on number 4, please, board.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the consent agenda. I'm sorry, I read the wrong tab just a moment ago. We corrected our minutes. We're in good shape there. I don't think that calls for a separate vote, and we need to get down to the policies. Okay. Board, I need a motion to approve everything on the consent agenda except 13. I need a motion to do that, and then we have broken that apart into 3 parts as requested by Mr. Holliday. So I need a motion to approve everything but that, and then we'll vote on those separately.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. A second from someone. Don't everybody rush at once. Mr. Estes, thank you. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's go to policies, which we have 3 revised policies from the policy committee. And are they next? You're exactly correct. You're exactly right. Well, is it not on? Here it is. Okay. Visitors, right? Okay. We do have a visitor with us tonight, and one that we know very well. Ms. Belden, if you could come forward, please. Thank you. If you wish to address the board, you've done all this, and you've got, I believe, 3 minutes to make your point. And I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you. And I appreciate your service to the board and to the county as well.
Thank you. Greetings to Director Odom, members of the board, and friends of the Rutherford County School System. I'm Claudia Belden at 115 Winchester Lane in Smyrna. I come before the board with serious concerns about the February 1st Policy Committee meeting in which I participated as a community representative. One issue that came before the committee was Policy 5.802, which states the qualifications for the position of director of schools. Quote, item number 2, a master's degree in education with preference for a doctorate degree. Unquote. A board member requested to amend by striking the words with preference to a doctorate degree. I asked why this wording needs to be changed and was told that the board feared an applicant might be discouraged from applying, thinking that a doctorate would be required. My response was that if a qualified person really wanted this job, that would not dissuade him or her. The point was made that Mr. Odom has been a wonderful director, as was Harry Gill and the others before them, and none had doctorates. Absolutely true, but has nothing to do with the language of this policy. Another reason mentioned was that future committees could change the wording back to the original later. What's the point of that? I never received a reasonable answer as to why this language should be removed. There were 20 minutes of lively discussion with board members Aaron Holliday and Lisa Moore arguing to keep the language intact. An attempt to soften the policy by changing preference to desirable was voted down. Ultimately, the original motion passed 9-6 with dissenting votes by the 2 community representatives, 2 teachers, and board members Holliday and Moore. It was interesting to note that all but 2 of the Rutherford County School employees voted with the majority of the board. I felt throughout the meeting that the board was being contemptuous to those who didn't agree, and in some instances downright unprofessional and rude. I wondered, what's the point of being a community representative when the 2 of us were totally marginalized? There was neither listening nor consideration. There is speculation throughout the community that this board has already made up its mind prior to the interviewing process and changing the languages just to protect themselves in that choice. That is not how this board should operate. We expect you to be better than that. It was mentioned that this seems to be much ado about nothing. It's just language, but we feel it is much ado about something. I can't shake the feeling that something is going on behind the scenes. The interviewing and selection of our director is extremely important. I don't necessarily believe that the position demands a doctorate. However, integrity, experience, relevant education, competent leadership, and the unswerving ability to continue moving our top-rated school system forward need to be paramount. And we expect this board to consider all applicants, whether within our system or out, and select the best qualified candidate for the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belden. Next order of business, and we will be coming back to this policy in a few minutes. Next order of business, Mr. Director, number 7.
We have Miss Helen Campbell here this evening, who is the principal of Walter Hill School, and she's going to present a program tonight, or talk about a program. But as I told her today, the Walter Hill program appeared on the commissioner's virtual presentation yesterday, which is the internet program that she addresses all the directors across the state of Tennessee and all. And one of the things mentioned in that particular program was the Walter Hill program. That doesn't happen very often, so thank you for that. We got some recognition, I know, all across the state.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Walter Hill School, for the past 3 years, has put on a program called The Amazing Shake that was inspired by the Ron Clark Academy, which I send teachers to every year as part of our professional development plan. I sent my school counselor 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, to the Ron Clark Academy, and this is the program that she wanted to put in place in the schools. So the program has developed and grown over the past several years. Mr. Coy Young was a judge for us this year in one of our school-based rounds that we had, and we had our 2 winners of our school program. They met with the CEO and co-founder of Go Noodle in Nashville, which was incredible, and sat with this gentleman and his staff and did presentations to come down to our final 2, which was fantastic. And to their surprise, we had a trip planned for them to go to the National Amazing Shake, the first ever that the Ron Clark Academy put on, and come to find out it was international. There was a school from Honduras there as well. So these kids competed against 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders across the country. There were 136 students that competed. They scored very well in individual events. We had one that was in the top 20 in one event.
One was in the top 10, one in the top 20, and then some other scores within the top 30.
We did not advance on to final rounds, but just an amazing job. These kids walked right in with great confidence and did a fantastic job. They are ready for the job market with their soft skills and definitely working on the academic knowledge. They're great at that too, but this is part of the overall program. We're working with the whole child with them. And so the kudos goes to Heather Eskridge, my school counselor. I have the easy part of just saying yes and how can I help. And she really does a lot of work to put this entire program together with community resources. And we had lots of community members, even extending into Nashville, that helped us. But we wanted to give a little, it's about the kids, so we wanted to make sure the kids had an opportunity to talk to you all about the Amazing Shake, what it meant to them, and how it's going to help them with their future. So we'll start with Miss Riley Sims, who was our school level winner. And she doesn't know she's going first, but she does now. And, and she's going to have a chance to talk to you all.
So this will help me in life because, see, I used to be one of those people that didn't like talking to others that were strangers because I'm just scared of strangers. That's just one of my things that I was not good at. But then when I got to 4th and 5th grade and I found out that there was Amazing Shake, I tried my hardest and I got more confident, and I tried even more than I did in 4th grade because I made it to the 3rd round last year, and I got to be in 1st place this year, and so it's amazing to get this opportunity to do all these different kinds of things.
Our runner-up, Deshaun Miller, did a great job as well, presenting, and also had a great time at Ron Clark, and so he's gonna have a chance to talk to you about this. You need to tell them what the Amazing Shake meant to you and how that's gonna help you in the future. You got this.
I think the Amazing Shake will help me in the future because it teaches us life skills to help us go on in the future to get a good job. To help us get a good job and not become homeless and have enough money to pay for our children, homes, stuff like that. And what else did you say? Okay. The Amazing Shake actually meant a lot to me this year, considering the fact that last year I didn't even make it past the 1st round. So this year my goal was to get past the 1st round and then go to the 2nd round, and I didn't care. But this year I actually made it way farther and exceeded my goal. I made it past the 1st round, past the 2nd round, past the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think. And came in 2nd place. And then that's when they told us that next Monday that we're going to be able to go to Ron Clark Academy to compete for the Amazing Shake Nationals, which really surprised me and got me excited.
We are incredibly proud of our kids, and you have 2 11-year-olds standing here talking to you all, and that's part of the overall program at Walter Hills. We want our kids to be able to speak to anyone, be well-spoken, and have those skills to go in and be impressive in an interview, and be able to have that expression to get a great job, but also be able to work with other people, because the academic skills are so incredibly important because they need to be able to have the skills to be prepared for the job, but this is the icing on the cake that will get them where they need in life. I have a 4th grade teacher here, a 5th grade teacher, and a special ed teacher here as well that we're all participating and helping guide the students through that. And again, I can't say enough about Heather Eskridge and how wonderful she did spearheading this program. And come out to Walter Hill and visit our kids sometime, and they can definitely shake your hand because we are definitely setting high expectations, and the kids are ready to soar to the moon.
Well, you did that very, very well. It's an excellent program, and the youngsters here did beautifully. Any board member can speak, of course, but I'd like for Mr. Coy Young, if he would. He wants to say a word or two, I believe.
I really appreciate the time you guys put into this program. It shows dividends already. These 2 fine people and the kids I got to talk to out there, I was really impressed with the time they put in trying to get prepared for this competition. How many kids overall competed at Walter Hill?
Within the school, we had 120 with 4th and 5th grade. We're still a baby school. We're little but mighty, but 120 kids. So these 2 kiddos beat out 120 4th and 5th graders just to get the school title.
It's a great program, and I just hope it spreads throughout our county. So, good job.
Well, thank you so much. And we're excited about how it expands. We visited the Tennessee Titans, we visited the Predators, the Frisk Center. So we're excited to see what possibilities come next year to get the kids out in the community and visit new places and new experiences, because that's so important as well. And having people like Mr. Young being able to come out and judge for us in the school-based program, lots of business leaders and community members. It was incredible to see the giving part of the community and the excitement of, yes, I want to come. And that was incredible. And we can't do those type of things without you all, so thank you.
Did you tell them they were going to be on television before they gave their talk?
No.
They might end up on YouTube, so they didn't know about YouTube, but we did try to make it as easy on them as possible. Though they've competed against 120 at our school and then 130 nationally, so they're getting to be kind of pros at getting in front of people and speaking, which is what we want to do.
So this is what we do every day, and this is why we do it, are these two kids right here. We have many more like them at school, and it just really puts things into perspective and focus for us, because this is why we come to work every day. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go shake their hands.
We are 8, I mean. Okay. All right. Let me go and shake everybody's hand here and then.
Oh, and that, yeah, really.
Board, if you turn your attention to number 8, please. Mr. Director.
This is Korean Technical Education Work-Based Learning Grant. The Work-Based Learning Grant from the Tennessee Department of Economic Development is presented for approval for the funding period of February the 12th, 2018 through May 31st, 2019. The grant is for $25,000. The Work-Based Learning Grant provides funding for 12 to 14 of our teachers for a teacher externship program with our area industry partners. She does plan to do this over the summer. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the Work-Based Learning Grant from the Tennessee Department of Economic Development for $25,000 to provide funding for 12 to 14 of our teachers for a teacher externship program with our area industry partners.
I don't believe we had any questions the other night. We're in good shape with this, but we may have some tonight. Any comment? If not, need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Was that Mr. Young and Mr. Hodge? Thank you for the second, Mr. Hodge. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Number 9.
Number 9 is the Eagleville Sewer Easement. Eagleville View Village Partners, a partnership composed of John Jones and Craig Sewell, has requested to tie into the existing sewer line in front of Eagleville High School on Highway 99. The Engineering and Construction Department has looked into the proposed connection and found that the connection will not impair service to the school, but that a new sewer line will be required and that certain improvements to the existing school connection should be required prior to allowing the connection. All of the costs for the new line and improvements will be the responsibility of the requesting partnership. A backflow prevention valve will be required to be installed to ensure that no interruption of service to the school. The City of Eagleville has agreed to accept the maintenance of the new sewer line in front on the school up to the valve so that the Board of Education will no longer be responsible for maintenance of the sewer line in front of the school. Recommend approval. The motion is to grant a non-exclusive sewer easement from to the City of Eagleville along Highway 99 for improvements to the sewer line on the condition that Eagleview Village Partners install a new sewer line, make all modifications to the existing line requested by the Board of Education Engineering and Construction Department, clean and level any disturbed ground after the installation, and seed and straw the same for the approval of the Engineering and Construction Department.
Comments or a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Blair, thank you. A second? Mr. Estes, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Part B.
Part B is coming back to our 5-year building plan. We had some date slated for this winter, spring. This is a building program request. Director Odom and staff have pinpointed the next areas for concentration of the building program. The next new school that should be built is Rocky Fork Elementary for a total of $36,438,227, with $3,680,000 currently funded for land, design, and site, leaving $32,758,227 to be funded. The next addition that should be funded and built is Rock Springs Elementary, addition for a total of $9,150,000. The next properties that should be funded are in the corridor from I-840 Highway 96 land for a 3-school complex for a cost of $4,750,000, and the land for the South Murfreesboro area for a 2 or 3 school complex at a cost of $3,250,000. The total funding for these projects would be $49,908,227. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve construction and property is presented for a total of $49,908,227. This should be presented to all necessary subcommittees and the county commission as soon as possible.
Comments from any board member? There are none. I need a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second?
Second.
Mr. Young, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Part C.
Part C are inspections for auxiliary campus buildings. Rutherford County Schools Engineering and Construction Department requested a proposal from Consolidated Roofing Inspections for inspections of all the campus auxiliary buildings throughout our system. There is a total of 246 of these buildings that are not being used for classroom space. They can be from a small storage shed to baseball or softball facilities. There's a total of 230,917 square feet under roof in these buildings. The cost for inspection per building is $75 each. That brings the total inspection cost to $18,450. The inspection report will include the building location, the building square footage, deficiency and severity of deficiencies, and identity of the responsible parties for maintenance and upkeep. And again, this is a professional service. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve auxiliary campus building inspections for consolidated roofing inspections at $75 each for a total of $18,450 as presented, and this is a professional service.
Comments or a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Estes, thank you. A second?
Second.
Mr. Blair, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Part D.
D is the Oakland Middle School sewer fee. On an inspection after the construction of Oakland Middle School, Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department found a sag in the 8-inch underground line in Cushing Avenue due to settlement. We currently have a bond for $68,000 on the line to protect Murfreesboro Water and Sewer. In order to get a permit for construction of the new addition, we must resolve this issue. It is less expensive for Rutherford County schools to pay the amount of the bond than to dig up the road to repair the line, since it's 20 feet deep under the surface of the road. Again, the amount is $68,000, and this will resolve this issue once and for all. And for people that might be listening on television, the sag was 3/4 of 1 inch out of an 8-inch sewer. We're not having any problems at the school. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the expenditure of $68,000 payable to Murfreesboro Water and Sewer for repair of the sewer line at Cushing Avenue as presented.
Comments or a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Young, thank you. A second?
Second.
Mr. Holliday, I believe. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 10.
Number 10 is a request from Blackman High School. It's a naming request. Blackman High School is requesting permission to name their baseball field after David Price. Recommend approval. The motion is to name Blackman High School's baseball field after David Price.
Mr. Hodge and Mr. Estes, I believe. If you have any questions, Dr. Justice is with us tonight, the principal, and the baseball coach, who has seen David Price from the other side of this issue, probably a lot more than he would want. He's also here. Mr. Vedder, Coach, good to see you. Any comments on this at all?
Just that, we're so proud of him and his success, and that he has been willing to share that success with our community is priceless, and no play on words there, but I think we all just take great pride in, you know, where we travel and say, yeah, he's from our community. And just, again, what a nice honor for someone who has given so much back to our community. So, thank you.
He gives laptop labs and computers. He's been doing that. And of course, probably one of the most noticeable things was his contribution for the handicap facility at Sportscom. You know, that's named after him. He's just returning, like you say, a lot to the community.
David's a friend, and to many of us in this room and on this board. And I never like it on TV when they say Vanderbilt graduate David Price. I want him to say Rockvale graduate, Blackman graduate David Price. He's a product of our public schools and got an outstanding family. But anyway, we've got a motion and a second. Do you have any further comment? All in favor, please say a resounding yes.
Yes.
Yes. Number 11.
Number 11 is a Smyrna High School renaming request. Smyrna High School is requesting permission to rename their swimming pool the Trump Hour Aquatic Center. Recommend approval. The motion is to rename Smyrna High School swimming pool the Trump Hour Aquatic Center. And he has taught so many children to swim. The safety courses that he offers through the PE program there is just really outstanding. Great guy.
So moved.
Mr. Blair, was that you?
Yes, sir.
Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Holliday, thank you. All in favor? If there's no comments, please say aye. Aye. Number 12.
Number 12 is a signing bonus incentive for the hard-to-staff subject areas. The signing bonus incentive for hard-to-staff subject areas submitted to the state each year is presented for the board approval. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the signing bonus incentive for hard-to-staff subject areas for the 2018-19 school year as presented.
Move for adoption.
Mr. Holliday, thank you. A second?
Second.
Mr. Young, thank you. Comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 13.
13 is revised policies. The first policy is 1.704, charter schools. The purpose of this revision, the policy has been updated to comply with new state laws that increase charter school application fees and create an authorizer fee starting in the 2018-19 school year. Recommend approval. The motion to approve policy 1.704 as recommended by the Policy Committee on first reading.
So moved.
Mr. Estes, thank you.
Second.
Mr. Blair, thank you for the second. Any comments on this first policy? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number policy 2.806.
All right, this is for bids and quotations. The purpose of this revision, the policy has been updated to reflect changes in state law, allowing local education agencies with a centralized purchasing authority with an authorized full-time purchasing agent to increase the threshold required for competitive bids from $10,000 to $25,000. Recommend approval. Motion to approve policy 2.806 as recommended by the Policy Committee on first reading.
Any comments on 2.806? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Mr. Young, I believe. Oh, well, we do have a comment. I'm sorry. Mr. Sandy. After the vote?
After the vote.
After the vote. Need a second.
Clarification.
Second.
Second, Mr. Holliday. Comments from anybody but Mr. Sandy? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Mr. Sandy.
And I did, for our listening community, watching community, I did want to state, we will still be getting bids and quotes under $25,000, but we will not have to go through our advertised process. We will just be able to do them over the phone, through emails, whatever.
Okay. Next policy.
Policy 5.802, qualification and duties for the Director of Schools. Purpose of the revision, amends qualifications to delete the phrase with preference for a doctorate degree. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve policy 5.802 as recommended by the Policy Committee on first reading.
Move to approve.
Mr. Young, Second, Mr. Estes. Comments?
Mr. Chairman, since the policy committee meeting, I've had contact with professors at MTSU, the Vanderbilt College of Education, David Lipscomb University, Tennessee State University School of Education. One of these individuals shared with me that as a former teacher, principal, and current faculty member and administrator in higher education, she states that 41 years of experience tells her that a doctorate should be required. I'm very comfortable with the language that we have existing in the policy today that says that there's a preference for a doctorate degree, but she goes on. Simply put, experience gives one a valuable and practical perspective about the workings of schools and district offices. And advanced education gives a deeper, meaningful, research-based insight into successful schools, teaching and learning, curricula, pedagogy, workplace culture, school climate, and parental and family dynamics in schools. Granted, neither experience nor education ensures competence in directing a school district, but the broader perspective that comes from more advanced education, actually conducting research on education issues, engaging with other scholars and practitioners in advanced learning communities, and scholarly conversations in a doctoral studies program is not usually acquired without the rigorous learning that happens in that doctoral program. She goes on to say, in her own experience, that her studies in the master's program were very state-centric and prepared us for school administration in public education within the state. But my doctoral studies expanded my view of education and my way of looking at how to evaluate situations and how to solve problems, and how to think creatively and innovatively, which are important mindsets for school leadership today. In addition to these comments, it was my perspective at the policy committee meeting, and remains my perspective, that a correct reflection of our community, where we have had such a rich history of training teachers up to and including their doctorate degree, should continue to reflect in our policy that we would seek a director of schools with a master's degree and a preference for a doctorate degree.
Questions or comments from other board members on 5.802? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the revision, please say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed?
Nay.
I believe that's 5-2. Okay. Number 14.
14 is for information only. This is about transportation. The Transportation Department has put on the last bus of 11 that were budgeted for the 2017 through 2018 school year. This brings our total fleet to 268 buses. There have been 2 contracts turned in since the beginning of the school year. This puts us at a number 24 out of 64 on the second priority list. For 6 days in the month of January, we hosted the area state-required safety in-service training for all drivers conducted by the state pupil transportation state troopers. We had a total of 473 drivers attend the in-service, which includes drivers, sub-drivers, and activity drivers. These troopers also inspect all buses each year and re-inspect buses which have been involved in accidents. We have had 12 non-preventable accidents and 8 preventable accidents with 4 injuries through January 2018, compared to 10 non-preventable accidents and 2 preventable accidents with 13 injuries through January 2017. The bus fleet, we have 232 transit buses and 36 special education buses. The average age of our fleet is 7 years old. After 15 years of age, all transit buses can get a 3-year extension. Buses that have obtained the 3-year extension are required to be inspected twice a year by the state pupil transportation inspectors at a cost of $770 per year borne by the contractor. Special education buses are not eligible for the extension. However, the years of service has increased from 12 to 15 years, And below is the breakdown of our fleet by years of service, and you can see that in the table. All 268 buses now have an active GPS unit and are able to monitor routes, stops, times, and speeds.
It was an information only, but you have a place here for comment if you have any. Mr. Snell is here, of course.
Mr. Chairman, we are very fortunate to have the partnership that we do with local business owners who operate these buses and share our concern for the youth of Rutherford County. I happened to cross paths with one of our bus drivers this past Saturday, and he shared with me that the stop came and a middle school student came to the front of the bus, and they mutually observed that an individual was walking through the neighborhood. He asked if the student knew who that individual was, and the student said no, she did not know who that individual was. So the bus driver said, well, stay right here with me for a moment. And they let this individual move on, and out of concern for the student's safety, he remained there at the stop until the student walked all the way into the house. The student, with a big grin, gave him a thumbs up. The next day when she got on the bus, she handed him a note from her mother, thanking him for his commitment to the school system and commitment to student safety. With all of the things that are going on in this report about transportation, I just wanted to highlight the actions of one of our bus drivers, Mr. Jack Miller, and his outstanding efforts.
The capital outlay for a bus driver. Now, you told me the other day, Mr. Snell, what is a typical 90-passenger bus estimated cost him now? $130,000. That's quite an investment for our...
And commitment.
It is. You got to drive a while to pay that off.
Yes, sir.
Any further comment on the transportation paragraphs? Tab 6.
Tab 6, I think, is some resolutions. That was the 2 resolutions. We want to handle those tonight, I think. The first resolution, this is the one that Mr. Reed developed for us, I think. The first is a resolution in opposition to the method of evaluation of pre-kindergarten and kindergarten teachers and administrators under State Board of Education Policy 5.201. Whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education is responsible for providing a local system of public education, and whereas the Tennessee State Board of Education has made certain changes to the teacher and administrator policy in Policy 5.201 in regards to the evaluation of certain school personnel who do not have individual TVAS scores, and whereas said policy provides in relevant part for teachers with individual Tennessee Evaluated Assessment System TVAS scores, the student growth measures shall be comprised of TVAS scores. For teachers, librarians, counselors, and other groups of educators who do not have individual TVAS scores, LEAs may choose from a list of student growth portfolio models that have been shown capable of generating an individual student growth measure. The list of options will be approved by the Department of Education prior to the start of each school year. The current list of student growth portfolio models includes the Fine Arts Student Growth Portfolio Model, World Languages Student Growth Portfolio Model, the Physical Education Student Growth Portfolio Model, Pre-K, Kindergarten Student Growth Portfolio Model, and First Grade Student Growth Portfolio Model. In order to implement one of the student growth portfolio models above, the local education agencies must assign a district portfolio lead to verify portfolio submissions and to facilitate committee reviews as needed, select and provide portfolio evaluators at a ratio of 1 evaluator for every 10 portfolios in each content area. All portfolio evaluators must be trained and credentialed by the Department of Education to assess student growth according to the portfolio model. Implement the state's multiple rating categories to measure levels of performance on the growth model. Whereas the evaluation model requires a school district to assign multiple portfolio evaluators at a ratio of 1 evaluator for every 10 portfolios, which means multiple teachers and school personnel are required to be diverted from their normal teaching and job duties to evaluate other teachers. And whereas the new policy requires portfolio evaluators to receive additional training, thereby resulting in even less class and class preparation time for teachers and school personnel. And whereas a substantial amount of class and class preparation time has already been lost due to state-mandated testing. And whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education believes class time is a critical component of successful educating students. And whereas the evaluation model adopted presents a time-consuming process taking teachers and personnel from their class and class preparation time and further detracting from normal job duties. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Education as follows. The Rutherford County Board of Education would respectfully ask the State Board of Education to reconsider the policy to revise the sections pertaining to evaluation of pre-K and kindergarten teachers. And it would be resolved this 15th day of February 2018. And I don't think we had a motion with it, so we didn't have a motion written to it, but
I'll move for adoption of the resolution as presented.
Second. Ms. Audie?
Second.
Mr. Young, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Second resolution.
second resolution deals with advanced placement. The resolution in opposition to requiring advanced placement and international baccalaureate students to take the culminating exam to obtain additional grade weighting. Whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education is responsible for providing a local system of public education, and whereas the Tennessee State Board of Education has made certain changes to the uniform grading policy in Policy 3.301 to require students enrolled in advanced placement and international baccalaureate IB classes to take the culminating exam to obtain additional weight grading, and whereas said policy provides in relevant findings F, advanced placement AP, Cambridge International, and international baccalaureate IB and college level exam program CLEP courses. Local education agencies may elect to offer advanced placements, Cambridge International, or international baccalaureate courses, or align their existing courses to college level exam program CLEP exams. Local education agency will ensure that these courses incorporate the learning objectives and course descriptions as defined by the College Board, Cambridge International or International Baccalaureate, respectively, and prepare students for culminating national exams that, if passed, may be accepted for post-secondary credit by post-secondary institutions. AP, Cambridge International, and IB courses and CLEP are eligible for additional percentage point weighting for students who sit for the aligned culminating exam. Districts may award additional weighting to the grades of students who have completed an AP, Cambridge International, or IB course, or a course aligned with industry certification of CLEP exam prior to sitting for the culminating exam. If quality points are awarded prior to participating in the culminating exam, the district shall have a policy to remove the quality points if the student does not participate in the culminating exam by the end of the school year in which the course was completed. Whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education desires to encourage students to enroll in more rigorous classes, and whereas some students enroll in advanced placement and IB classes for reasons other than seeking college credit for said reasons, and whereas some IB classes do not offer a culminating exam, and whereas payment of a fee is required by the National Testing Administrator for the culminating exam, which is not paid for by the state of Tennessee, which would present a financial burden to certain students. And whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education wants to keep advanced placement and IB classes open and desirable for students of all economic backgrounds. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Education as follows. The Rutherford County Board of Education would ask the State Board of Education to reconsider the requirement that students take the culminating exam in order to earn additional grade weighting for taking advanced placement and IB courses. And it will be resolved this 15th day of February 2018.
Move for approval of the resolution as presented.
A second, please. Second. Ms. Moore, thank you. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This brings us to the ever-popular insurance update. Dr. Anthony, what do you have for us tonight?
Next meeting will be Thursday, February the 22nd. They did cancel the January meeting, so we'll have something to report at the next meeting.
Sounds suspiciously like Tuesday's report.
No meeting.
Substitute teacher update. Dr. Anthony presented an excellent slideshow last time, and I don't know if she's planning on doing that again tonight. I doubt it. She doesn't look like she's going to, but she will if needed. If not, unless the board members have a question, we'll move on to the director's update.
And for the director's update, the horrific shooting in schools in Florida certainly has gained lots of attention nationally, internationally, and even in our area. And I've asked Mr. Josh Kubley if he will come up to the podium. Mr. Kubley actually does our testing coordinator to sort through some of the online testing and paper testing also, but his other title, he is also one of our safety managers. And so I've asked him to kind of give you a summary tonight of some of the things that we have in place to try to encourage for the safety of our students, because I think we're all concerned, and maybe if you do not know already, especially people that are listening to us, on YouTube or over the TV, we'll kind of know a little bit more about what we've already put in place and what we're doing. Mr. Kubley.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. As Mr. Odom said, this particular position was crafted a little over 10 years ago since I've been here. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight. Very sad that it's under these circumstances. With the recent tragedies in Benton, Kentucky and Parkland, Florida, Mr. Odom this morning asked me to address the board tonight to give you some information on what steps we've taken here in Rutherford County to help keep our children safe and staff in our schools. Unfortunately, school shootings are becoming more common. Since January of this year, there have been 18 school shootings across the country. Last year, there were 65. And back in 1993, the Rutherford County educators and law enforcement came together to implement our SRO program, and it has grown ever since. Currently, our county commission has approved funds to fund an SRO at every school, with 2 being at the high schools. The program is much more than just law enforcement. It's in terms of presence. The SROs are providing programming, they serve as coaches, and develop a positive rapport with both students and staff. And in addition to the SRO program, I also wanted to highlight a few other programs and procedures that we have here in Rutherford County. Through board-approved funding, we've hardened our schools to keep our children even safer. We also conduct visitor background checks to make sure sex offenders and people who are court-ordered to stay away are kept out of our schools. We have emergency plans in place and crisis response team leaders identified at all schools to respond to anything from weather to medical to weapon-related emergencies. In addition to your standard run-of-the-mill fire drills, we conduct lockdown drills, an armed intruder drill, medical and weather-related emergency drills, and twice a year we conduct tabletops and large-scale unannounced drills. This year, we're piloting a new mobile application which allows staff members greater access to our emergency plans, improved communication, and student accountability. We have district staff and student services who serve as a much-needed resource for our school counselors and nurses. They help coordinate grief counseling, assist with threat assessments, and offer health services. And we also have, as you heard earlier tonight, improved bus safety through a number of different technological initiatives. As a parent of a recent Central Magnet graduate and a current Oakland Patriot, I can tell you that I feel very good about our procedures for safety here in Rutherford County. We do need, however, to continue to self-evaluate and identify areas where we can improve. That's one reason that we conduct debriefings after each and every one of our semi-annual school drills, and why we convene a district safety team after events like yesterday to discuss the details of the event and how we would have handled it had that happened right here at home. When changes are needed, we make them. We train and we practice. I want to thank the board for its continued support of school safety, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Board, feel free.
One of the things that I might say about the SRO program. Rutherford County was one of the first in Tennessee, one of the first in the nation, if you remember, to create the SRO program. In fact, they were invited, I can remember, to do training for the Department of Defense at their, Department of Defense has schools all over the world, and they got a nice trip somewhere in the Pacific out there for a training years ago to train with the Department of Defense. And so our people have experience. They undergo a lot of training. They'll not even assign an SRO until they have completed their training and spent some time with that. We talk about another thing that Mr. Kubley said this evening, and I've been involved in those drills, been caught in those drills at the place when it happened and you didn't necessarily expect it. One of the things after we do a drill, SROs, the people sit down with the staff at the school and say, what went well, what can we do better? And you look at it, and it is a constant modification and change. After we finish those individual school drills, what he said to you, and part of what he read there is, we then get together as a district, typically up here or somewhere else, and sit around the table and say, okay, 46 schools, we saw this, is there anything else that we need to do, to track that? And we sit down as here with the SROs, the leads and the SROs, and then decide what we need to do. It's a work in progress. I mean, you'll never have arrived at your safety plan and the things that you do. He mentioned we're piloting. He didn't call it the Raptor system. You go into one of our schools, you're very likely going to have to hand them your driver's license, drop it in that little machine, and it goes back and does a background check of the person that's coming in the building. And if you're approved, you get a little sticker with your picture, if you're a visitor in that building. We do that. He's talking about an app, which we're piloting at several schools. This app is nice. It goes back into our iNow information system for our students. So if we go out on a fire drill or something like that, then the teacher can pull it up, look at it, and look at the students in their class. Is Johnny, Susie, got their names. Are they here? Are they accounted for? Are they not accounted for? So all of that's in place too. We're working very, very hard to be as safe as we possibly can be. Do we have everything in place? Probably not, because it's always a work in progress. But I appreciate the work you do. I appreciate the work of the SROs, as we've got one sitting on the back there can talk to us about that. They're making a difference. And I will say Rutherford County citizens are very fortunate that people even before me put the priority on safety for students and staff.
Board, questions?
It's just a sad state of our world. Growing up here, I would have never dreamed we'd get to this point where we had to worry about our kids going to school. And it's just nerve-wracking to know parents have to have that concern when they send their kids out to school every morning. But I know we'll, as a board and as a county, will do everything we can to protect our kids. It's just really a society issue, and it goes back to society. If we're going to fix the problem, the society's got to fix it.
I would say that, and I'm sure there's improvements that could be made, there always are, on everything that anybody does. But, we go in and out of buildings all day long, churches and stores and banks, whatever. They don't have SROs. But at school, well, we're trying to do the very best we can to protect those youngsters. And I'm sure it's not perfect, but I think I know we were trying very hard to meet a high standard, and I appreciate the considerable part that you have in that, and our SROs in particular.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Board, any other comments? Thank you.
I have
excuse me.
Just one request for our listening audience, be it parents, grandparents, neighbors, thing. As you watch the news roll out about these shootings, you always hear somebody say somebody knew something, somebody heard something, and it's typically another student. So I would say to, again, all those parents and students, grandparents, and everybody that's listening, please encourage your child, your person, if they suspect, if they think they've seen, or they've seen some social media or something, tell somebody, tell your teacher, tell your administrator, tell your SROs, and I can tell you those boys follow up, even going to house and doing checks of whether there are weapons in the house and everything or not. They turn over rocks to try to get to the bottom of it. So please, in this world today, we have that little mantra, let's not get involved, but that's not healthy. It's not healthy for our students. So please, tell somebody what you know, and then we'll sort through it and see how much of it may or may not be true. Thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you. Director's update. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Ms. Moore, number 19, your time to shine. Anything going on the Hill?
Well, apparently there's quite a bit going on.
I see we have a list of bills and things.
Every board member has in front of them some documents that were given to us by the TSBA, the Tennessee School Board Association. There have actually been, I think to date, it's roughly around 180 education bills that have been filed, and of course the TSBA, is a part of their responsibility. The school boards audits all of these bills. So you'll see that you've got position statements from the TSBA as far as the bills that they're recommending that be supported, the ones that are recommended be opposed. And then there's also a list of caption bills, which I'm not really going to delve into tonight. I think everybody knows that those caption bills are things that can, what is the Shakespeare saying, arose by any other name. It can start out as something and then reappear as something else completely. So they're kind of like a moving target. There is also a list of bills that the TSBA, because of the volume of bills that's out there, and the fact that obviously we as board members, but our constituents too, need to focus on the ones that are of really significant concern, whether to support or oppose. They do have a list of what they said they recommend is no position or no further discussion. So these are the bills, I guess, that they don't feel like are significant enough to really invest our time in. I did not provide that list. If any of the board members would like to have that, let us know, and Ms. Joyce has them, and we'd be happy to get it to you. So just real quickly, if I could, a few, I know we don't want to keep us terribly late, but there are a few of the bills that I do kind of want to make note of for everyone. And of course, I would say to the public and those that are watching as well, that if there are ever any questions at all about state legislation or things that are pending with education, that they certainly should feel free to reach out to any of us, but certainly to me and to Director Odom if they have any particular questions about bills that are pending or how they might assist with either opposing or supporting those. The first one on the recommend for support that I wanted to point out, there has been, of course, so many issues with all the testing. And the Senate Bill 1498 that you see here, the use of 10-ready assessments for student growth data and teacher evaluations, is a bill that would require 10-ready or future replacements of 10-ready or TCAP assessments to be administered during the school year free of problems in order to be used for student growth data in teacher evaluations. And I thought that was kind of brilliant, actually, the way that they worded that, free of problems, although I'm not sure exactly how that'll be defined, but certainly well-intended legislation. The one that's listed right after that, the Senate Bill 1605, requirements for requests for eligible student information, and this kind of speaks to one of the other bills that's been put forth by Gresham, is that right? If you'll look at the recommend oppose, and I did want to talk about this one, the very last one on your opposed list, it's Senate Bill 2610, House Bill 2474, put forward by Senator Gresham and Representative Moody. This is, for all practical purposes, a voucher bill. Fortunately, there haven't been any real significant voucher bills that have been put forward, but this one certainly could be detrimental. It basically is recommending an expansion of the special needs IEP voucher bill that's already out there, taking it to expand it to not just limited to the IEPs that are in, or disabilities that are currently listed in the bill that was passed a couple of years ago, opening up vouchers for special needs am I wording that right? Special needs children. This one, the way this bill is worded, would also open it up to include gifted students. So basically what it does is it opens the door for vouchers to be used for any child anywhere in any of our school systems. This is not a Memphis voucher, that have an IEP program, period. So, you know, we have students that have IEPs because they're gifted and they need more, I guess, in the way of education than some of the others. There's a concern there, and when you tie that back into the request for eligible student information, that opening that up to gifted students would give charters and potentially even private schools an opportunity to, so to speak, cherry pick some of the best students from the system to be able to utilize their vouchers to move them to their schools. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. We have a couple of bills that we're supporting, or that TSB is recommending we take support of, that have actually been put forward by some of our own representatives that I want to make note of. On the second page of the supported or the recommended support bills, Senate Bill 1804, Assessment to Advance or Renew Teaching License Exemptions, was actually put forward by our own Senator Ketron and Representative Brian Terry, and it basically would exempt from assessments to advance or renew a license for a supervisor, principal, or public school teacher who possesses an active professional license, that if they score or earn above expectations or significantly above expectations, would take away the requirement for them to be able to have to go through the assessment to keep or renew their license in Tennessee. So that was partially intended too for out-of-state teachers and the restrictions that that puts on us and on that teacher when we hire the teachers from out of state. Let's see, the other one, next page, Senate Bill 1806. This was put forward by Senator Ketron and Representative Tim Rudd, and it's limiting new statewide assessments. So this is a lot of what we've talked about and that I think Senator Ketron had mentioned when they were here visiting, that would prohibit the Department of Education, the State Board of Education, from requiring any statewide assessments for any grades beyond the assessments required for the 16-17 school year until 2021-2022. So definitely something that we want to support. We appreciate those representatives bringing that forward. There's a number of others. I'm not going to, I mean, you certainly can look at them, and if anybody has any questions, I would welcome them. But I'll close with that.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We'll also get some information from our state attorney, which will be on your internet. I noticed I got a complete listing, although I don't think it was this good, but it had some other things. It's on there for your consideration and to read, and it will follow the bill through the various committee where it's assigned. Okay, number 20, Federal Relations Network. Mr. Holliday.
Recently, I represented the board at a conference in Washington, D.C., where we spoke with the congressional leaders there. I've provided the board a written documentation of that trip. Leading federal issues that were discussed: the Carl Perkins Career and Technical Education Act reauthorization, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act reauthorization and full funding, federal education investments, specifically the appropriations for fiscal year 18-19. Senator Alexander said the very next thing that he is working on is the Higher Education Act reauthorization. Of course, immigration reform has impact on our schools, and as well as ensuring student data privacy while still promoting effective data use. There are education impacts with net neutrality and access to equitable digital learning opportunities in schools. And then generally there is a sense of improving the nation's infrastructure, and we certainly know about that in trying to keep up with growth here in Rutherford County in the aspect of our 5-year building plan and generally building schools for that. I want to draw your attention to the 4th page of what I've shared with you. The Oakland IB graduate that is serving in Washington, D.C. this spring, Miss Annabelle Castile. She is a 2015 graduate of Oakland High School's IB program. a Duke University student majoring in public policy, and was a wonderful ambassador of everything that's great about Rutherford County, as I happened to make her acquaintance there at Senator Alexander's office. I'll let the report be as submitted and answer any questions if there are.
Board? I want to thank both of you for the work that you do with our separate legislative bodies, and what I know will undoubtedly be a busy year as well in that general area. So thank you, Ms. Moore, and thank you, Mr. Holliday. Number 21, new director of schools training start date. Before we kind of get into that, really, I don't know how deeply, but the tours. I believe it was Mr. Hodge and Mr. Estes, am I right, that said you could go any day on a tour, you didn't care. And no one has told me anything about a specific date, and we don't know how many. I think we sort of generally agreed, did we not, that we would offer a tour to any of the candidates, and if they wanted a tour, we'd give them a tour. And I would think any board member could go, but we'll have a lead board member, if you will, on that day. Other than that, is there any, if you have a specific date that you would like to go, you let me know. I will put you down for that date, and if somebody wants a tour on that date, that'll be great. Now, for the listening audience, because I've gotten this on emails and a number of phone calls, Mr. Bennett will be here. No, wait a minute, let me start again. The time to apply for the director of schools position is the 23rd of February. I would assume close of business that day, I would guess. And then Mr. Bennett, who's the attorney for Tennessee School Board Association, will be here on the 5th, Monday, March 5, and that night, that evening, late that evening, we will receive from him whoever they have vetted that they think would be potentially a very good candidate. We can add to that list if we want to, and y'all jump right in here now if I say something wrong. But otherwise, we will take their 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever they send to us, and we will set up interviews. I guess I'll do that, or Ms. Michaels will do that. One of us will do it together. And also on the 5th, we will need to, we can find out when we call whether they want a tour or not. We can do that. And then, and Mr. Bennett may already know that, but we can do that. Which brings me to questions. Now, before I get into about the questions that we need to ask these people, we are receiving a update as to who has applied. As of last Thursday afternoon, we had 6 people. I understand that list is longer now, but I have no idea what it is. But that's all I know, that's fine. That's good. Yes, I know you want to talk, Ms. Moore. I know you do. And I know you're about to be of tremendous help to me. I want, let's see. I see you broke my train of thought. Well, it's a short train. On that night, okay, this is what I bet you want to talk about, right? We want to decide on questions to ask. We have to ask every candidate the same series of questions. That is obvious, and we're getting together at 5 or 5:30, which is it? 5 for a little food and that sort of thing at 5, or meet and greet and. Not on March 5th. No, not on the 5th. The interviews. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's get to the questions. Ms. Moore, help me out.
And actually, Mr. Chairman, what I was going to say is that I do understand that we're going to be receiving an updated list. of the candidates tomorrow. That
yes.
we'll be receiving emails, so I wanted to mention that. But yeah, since you brought it up, if you don't mind.
Oh, please.
As far as the questions go, because that's something I guess that's kind of been running through my mind too, and not having been through this process before, but certainly having done a lot of job interviews in my previous career. I think it's so important, first of all, that we take recommendations from the TSBA, since this is their area of expertise, and they've done so many director of schools and superintendent searches. My understanding is that Mr. Bennett, when he comes to visit with us on the 5th, is going to give us some questions that are pretty standard and typical to ask during that process. So when you look at the ones that he gives us, and I don't have any idea at this point how many that is, or how, 40? Okay. I'm thinking in terms of, or kind of in lines of a couple of things here. First of all, that we need to be very cautious as a board, and I know I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't already know, but it's so critical when you're interviewing candidates, and especially for a position like this, public school system, that we be very conscientious and cautious about making sure, going back to Mr. Bennett's recommendations, that the questions that we're asking, that we're staying on script, and that we're asking the questions that we've determined in advance, and that they be asked, I believe, by the same person. In other words, if Lisa Moore is given the question, or I ask for the question of, you know, what's your plan for this system 10 years from now? Now, just example, that I would be the one to ask that same question of every candidate. And certainly there are going to be candidates, I believe, that will come back with answers that may, you know, require kind of a follow-up. Well, can you, you know, elaborate on what you meant by that kind of thing. But I just think it's important that there not be any surprises as we're going through that process, that we all be on the same page, because, again, the risk that we put ourselves at asking questions out of left field, perhaps, that haven't been discussed in advance, that we just have to be very conscientious and cautious of that, both from a legal standpoint, but also for the sake of our timing, that we don't wind up being here till midnight with all of these interviews. And I'm certainly not suggesting that that we're not thorough, but just that we need to be conscientious of that.
Well, you wouldn't want to leave here and candidates say, oh, you didn't ask me that.
Exactly.
You wouldn't want that to happen.
How come I'm the only one that got
well, excellent point. Yeah, you didn't ask anybody else that. That's worse, isn't it? And I don't know. I'm worried about the time. 40 questions, and maybe a few follow-up, maybe questions. We might get up to, let's say, 49. I'm doing that just because it's divisible by 7. And I mean, if every board member took, say, 20 minutes, that's 3 hours, and are getting there. And I don't know about y'all, but I think that's too long for a person to be in the hot seat. If you want to call them back for another day, we can talk about that maybe. Mr. Blair.
I think Mr. Bennett will bring those questions just as guides, because they'll be in different areas of interest, and board members can choose among those questions to utilize for the interview, or you could take and make those questions to your desired point, or you can come up with your own question. I talked this weekend with a couple of boards who had recently interviewed and hired a new director of schools, and most of them stayed in the 2 to 3 question range for their, and both boards happened to be had 7 members like we have, and they said 21 questions took quite a while.
Well, I gave a little thought to this afternoon, that perhaps 3 questions a person, and those questions could come from anywhere that the board member wanted them to come from. If they came off the list, that's fine. If 2 of them came off the list, they had another question they wanted to ask, that's fine. If all 3 of them were questions that were not on the list, but remember, you got to ask them of everybody, and that's all you get. Well, Mr. Bennett will be here on the 5th. We haven't seen, I promised him two things, if y'all recall, when he was here, that I was not going to add anybody to his list, no matter what his list looked like, and I'm not, and I don't care. He'll do his job. He'll do a good job, and his team will. And then I wasn't going to call him, and I didn't. He called me, but I didn't call him. So I lived up to my what I said. But if he's going to come in with some questions, then sometime on the 5th, 6th, or 7th, we've got to decide who's going to ask what, because the 8th is number 1. That's whoever that is. And is he deciding who comes in first? Is he asking them?
He will.
Okay. All right. After the 23rd. Okay. Okay. All right. And so he will arrange the interviews. Who matches up with what day?
Well, in the past, I've kind of worked with him.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all for you working with him. Don't call me. Okay. All right. All right. That's a lot of subjects right there. And does the board have comments on any of that? What do we need to change, revise, consider before the 5th gets here? And we still got time. We're all right. Okay, the actual number 21 says to select a start date. So is there any conversation on that?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I wanted to ask Mr. Reed if the language commenced their employment on the desired date of 6/1/2018. Does that give us some flexibility with that? Would that be proper?
I think if you're saying you have a preference that they start on June 1st?
Yes, sir.
I think what you would do is say if available to the applicant, our preference would be that they start June 1st to allow some time to train with the existing director of schools before they assume their duties on July 1st.
Ms. Joyce, did you get all that language?
Well, before you say anything else, June 1 is a Friday. I did look that up today. And I would think we wouldn't want to start on Monday.
That's true. Is Monday a 3rd?
We may have somebody coming in from out, we don't know. And June 4th, that would save them from having to come down on Friday and then stay till Monday. I would just...
Makes sense.
Yeah, I just thought June, but I didn't know we were going to say anything. So, you're going to make a motion? Or?
I would like to say a motion. Use that Mr. Reed's terminology or his language with the date of June 4th, which is a Monday, correct?
And that language was a preference for June 4th?
It is, if available to the applicant.
Okay.
It's the Board of Education's preference that the new director of schools start on June 4th to train with the existing director of schools before assuming their duties on July 1st.
All right, that's a motion, Mr. Blair, is that right?
Yes, sir, please.
Need a second from somebody or whatever?
Second.
Ms. Moore has seconded. Conversation. Everybody all right with that? And it could be we're anticipating a problem here that will not exist at all when the time gets here. I'm hoping that it doesn't.
Amen.
It could be a problem for somebody. Anybody want to make a comment? All in favor of Mr. Blair's motion, please say aye. Aye. Is there anybody opposed to that motion? And there is none.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Number 22 is general discussion by board members. Just to remind you that our next time we get together will be March 5th. Is that right? Okay. And then I count them up today, and we've got 22 meetings in 60 some odd days. That includes the weekends. So if y'all could come in on Sundays, I sure would appreciate it. I don't think that's going to be necessary, but we've got a lot with the budget and the director search and our regular meetings. But we'll We'll get that done, but March 5th is the next time, and that's 5 o'clock. Be sure and watch your times on your sheet, too, because we got some 6 o'clocks on there. Okay.
Are they etched in stone now? The ones, the laminated sheet, those? Okay.
That's up right now. What about now? Official.
Well, I've got mine.
Well, it's a very attractive list.
Color-coded.
Nobody changed one? No. It's remarkable. Okay.
That's true. There's no place to move them, too.
Well, that's right. That's right. I was kidding about the Sunday, but I may not have been kidding. All right. Discussion by board members. Anything from anyone on any topic. Okay. Thank you, staff, for your comments. Thanks to board members for your comments and your hard work. We are adjourned.